Welcome back, students. This is the 11th class of NCERT Indian Polity for Foundation Batch Adharshila, conducted by Center for Ambition, and we are continuing with the chapter Executive, and so far we have seen the political executive, the permanent executive of the countries. Okay, we have seen the political executive includes the Prime Minister, President, Vice President, the Council of Ministers at the center level, and we have seen at the state level we have Governor, Chief Ministers. Okay, so we'll be discussing about all the executives in this video. We'll be discussing about the president specifically here. Okay, so I'll be starting with the president today. We'll be seeing the roles, functions, and the qualifications of the president of India. Okay, so when I come to the president of India, the president of India is the nominal head of the state. Okay, the President of India is the nominal head of the state. What do I mean by nominal? Nominal means symbolic head. Okay, the President of India is the symbolic head of the state, which means that he has no real executive power. The policies and the laws that are made in the country are taken under the name of the president. Hence, he has no real executive power. So he is known as the nominal head of the country. All the real executive power are in the hands of the Prime Minister, because we have a parliamentary form of the government, and it is a feature of a parliamentary form of government where the president is the nominal head of the state, has no real executive power. All the real executive powers lies in the hands of the government, lies in the hands of the Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers. Okay. Now, the question is the word nominal written in the constitution? When I read the articles of the president, do I also see the word nominal written in the Indian constitution and mentioned as that president is the nominal head of the state? So the answer is no. There is no such word as nominal written in the Indian constitution. We do not find the word nominal in the Indian constitution. We have interpreted the word, because when we see the powers of the president, we also see that there is mentioned that the president shall act in accordance with the advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. So when we see that the president is has to work with the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, he shall act in accordance with the advice of Council of Ministers, we interpreted that the president has no real powers, has no real executive powers, and he's just a nominal head. Why? Because we have seen that the laws and the policies of the country are made under the name of the president. Okay. So there is a comparison drawn when I talk about the Indian president and the British crown. So we always see oftenly that there is a comparison drawn between the president of India and the crown of UK. Okay, we see that the crown of UK, the monarch, the British monarch of UK, is also the nominal head of the state, and the real power is with the parliament. There the majority which is the majority government which is made in the parliament has the real executive powers in the British. And we also see in India that the president is also the nominal head like the crown of UK. Okay, and the parliament of India has the real executive power, which means the president, the prime minister along with the Council of Ministers has the real executive powers. We'll read about that in detail. Okay, so when I talk about the parliament, okay, I'll write here. When I talk about the parliament is divided into three parts. Okay, which is the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha, and the president. Okay, so the president, when I talk about the president is not a member of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. These are the legislative houses which make the laws, which are which are given the duty to make laws. These are legislature bodies. Okay, so the president is not a member of the either house of the parliament, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, but he is an integral part of the parliament. Okay, so president is the part of the parliament. Parliament consists of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and the president. Why the president is a part of the parliament? Why? Because when the laws are made by the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, they are made under the name of the president. We need the assent of the president to make a bill as a law. Okay, a bill can only be made as a law by the assent of the president. So all the laws or the policies that are for the public are made under the name of president, and the president assent is very important to implement those bill as law. Okay, wait. So here we see that, as I told you, president is the nominal head, the ceremonial head of the state. He is a symbolic head of the state, which means that he has no real executive power in real practice, in the real governance. Okay. All the executive actions are taken under the name of the president. The real executive authority rests with the prime minister along with the council of ministers. Okay, the real executive power is with the council of ministers, which is headed by the prime minister. Okay, so we have seen that comparison of British crown with the Indian president. Okay, the British crown, which is the British monarch, is also the nominal head of the state. Okay, he is also the nominal head of the state, as we have seen the case of the president in India. Okay, he is also a nominal head of the state, and the real executive power are exercised by the prime minister and the cabinet. The real executive power are with the parliament of Britain. So the parliament, as I told you, parliament consists of three parts, which are the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and the president itself. Okay, so president is an integral part of the parliament, and he is not the member of either house of the parliament. He is not the member of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, but he is an integral part of the parliament. Okay, a bill cannot become law unless the president gives assent. Okay, so the assent of president is important for a bill to become a law. Okay, the qualifications of the president: he must be a citizen of India and have completed the age of 35 years of age. So we have seen that the minimum requirement of the ages are different when we see different offices of the government. Okay, when we have seen the qualifications for the Lok Sabha, we have seen that the age of 25 is important, that you have to be, the minimum age should be 25 when you qualify for the elections of the Lok Sabha. Okay, in case of president, the minimum age has to be 35 years of age in case you are going for the elections of the president. Okay, and should be qualified to become a member of the Lok Sabha. So what does it mean? It means that whatever the qualifications are required for the president to be a member, it's not only Lok Sabha, it could be Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Okay, it could be Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha as well. So whatever the qualifications are required for a person to be a member of a Lok Sabha or a Rajya Sabha, the same qualifications are to be applied on the president. So there is no different laws on the qualifications of the president when we talk about, but we have written that the same qualifications are to be there on the president when we make a candidate appear for the elections of the president. Okay, a person who is going to be elected as a president has to have the same qualifications to become a member of both the houses of the parliament. If he is qualified enough to be a member of both the houses of the parliament, he can also stand in the elections of, he can also contest the elections of president. Okay. The candidate should not be a member of the parliament or any state legislature with holding the office. So he should not be a part of any of the house of either the parliament or the state legislature. If he is a member of the legislature, if he is a member of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha or state legislature, he has to vacate the seat and then he can become the president. Okay. The seat has to be vacant if he goes for an election of the president. Okay, so the president oath he takes an oath to preserve, protect and defend the constitution and serve the people of India faithfully. So these are the oaths of the president. Okay. The office of profit. A candidate should not hold any office of profit under the government. So when we come to the elections of the president, so there is also one requirement that when the person is who is standing to contest the elections of the president, he should not hold any office of the profit. He should not hold any office of profit. What does it mean? It means that he should not be registered, he should not be working with another office of the government and getting the remuneration from that. Okay, he should be only and only contesting the elections of the president. Okay. The election method, the president is elected through electoral college. I'll tell you what does it mean. Okay. The president is elected through electoral college. Proportional representation system is applied here with single transferable vote and secret ballot paper. Okay, so when I talk about the president of India, the president of India is indirectly elected. Okay. The president of India is indirectly elected. Indirectly, why indirectly elected? So there was a debate which was going on earlier, okay, where we debated about why the president, which is the head of the state, has to be indirectly elected. And as we know that India is a republic. Okay, what do we mean by republic? It means that our head of the state is elected by the people. So when I say that the president is indirectly elected, it means that it is not elected directly by the people. Okay, so president is not directly elected by the people, and there was a controversy, there was a debate that was coming up, that as the president is the head of the state, the elections should be direct. Okay, the election should be direct. The people should be directly involved in the elections of the president. There should be universal adult franchise, and the people should directly vote for the president. Why? Because India is a republic country, and the head of the state should be should be the representative of the people, directly to the people. So there was a debate that what kind of election should be there of the president. Okay, but the Jawaharlal Nehru said that as we see the Indian constitution, as we see the powers that are given to the president, we see that the president is just a symbolic head of the state. He is not given the real functionalities of the government. So when we see the powers, the functions of the president, we see that the president is just a symbolic head of the country, and he is not given by the true functionalities that are given to the government. He has no real executive power. So if the president has no real executive power, there will be wastage of money and of the time of the people, because as president of India has no functionalities in real, it would be a wastage of time, and there is no need for a direct election. Okay, when the head of the state has no real power, there is no need for a direct elections. Okay, because the real executive power, the real powers lies in the hands of the prime minister. So there is no point of having a direct election in case of the president. Okay, now the question comes that when I say that president is indirectly elected, okay, so because he has no real powers, he has no real functionalities of the government, he is just a symbolic head of the state, that is why the president has the indirect elections. Okay, now if the president has indirect election, my question is that the prime minister, which has the real executive power, is he directly elected? Are the elections of the prime minister are direct? Is the prime minister of India is directly elected by the people of the country? So the answer is no. Why? Because we see that in the parliament, the Lok Sabha consists of the government which has the majority of the votes. Okay, the majority of the votes, whichever the party has got the majority of the votes, will be considered as the ruling party. Okay, the majority party in the Lok Sabha, okay, majority party of the Lok Sabha is directly elected by the people. Okay, so when I talk about the majority party, the ruling party of the Lok Sabha is directly elected by the people. Okay, and when the majority party comes as the ruling power in the Lok Sabha, what does they do? The member of the majority party, they make a list. They make a list of recommendation given to the president and the names given to the president, and it will recommend the name of the leader of their majority party. So the majority party who has won the elections, who has won the direct elections of the Lok Sabha, will recommend a name to the president saying that we want that this member, this person should be the head of our majority party, and they have given the name to the president. Okay, so the president appoints the prime minister, the president appoints the leader of the ruling party, which we call as the prime minister. Okay, so in case of prime minister, there is no direct elections and there is no indirect elections. There is only the appointment. The word appointment is used in case of prime minister. So when we see the elections of when we see the prime minister, when the question comes as like the president of India is indirectly elected and the prime minister of India is directly elected by the people of India, then the answer is no. Why? Because prime minister is not elected directly or indirectly by the people or by the citizens of the country, but the prime minister is appointed by the president. Okay, minister is appointed by the president, given the recommendation by the majority of the house, majority of the party, the ruling party, when it gives the recommendation to the prime minister, to the president appoints the leader of the majority party. Okay, now when I come to the elections of the president, how is the president is elected? I see the president is elected. I have seen that president is elected through indirect elections. Okay, okay, and he is elected by the electoral college. What do I mean by electoral college? What is electoral college? So in the elections of president, we have to remember the three words, which is elected, MP, MPs and MLA. Okay. These are the three words that you have to remember for the elections of the president. Okay. This also is also known as the electoral college. So the elected MPs and MLAs are they vote for the president. Now the elected MPs, when I say elected MPs, I do not mean the nominated members. Okay, only the elected members. Okay, in case of elected MPs and MLAs, in case of elected MPs, the members of the Lok Sabha and the members of Rajya Sabha is included. Okay, only the elected ones. In case of MLA, when I talk about MLA, it could be of the state and it could be of 3 UTs, okay, which is Delhi, Pondicherry and JNK. Okay, so three words that you have to keep in mind when it comes to the elections of the president, which is elected MPs and MLAs. Okay, when I talk about the MPs, it have to be elected MPs of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, there is no margin for the nominated members here. And in case of MLAs, it could be of state as well as 3 UTs, which is Delhi, Pondicherry and Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, why the elections, why the MLA of state are also required, why the importance of state is also required in case of MLA? Why? Because when we read about the governor in a later as we proceed in the chapter, when we read about the governor in the chapter, we'll see that there are some bills that the governor reserves for the assent of the president. So president have to take actions on some part of the state matters as well. So state involvement of state is also important. Hence the MLAs of state is also involved in the elections of the president. Okay, now we come to the criteria of how the president is elected. Okay, president is we have seen when we were talking about the electoral reforms, we have seen that EVMs have come up. But in case of presidential elections, there is no use of EVMs. The election is done by the secret ballot paper. Okay, the president election is done by secret ballot paper, and the criteria that we use here is PR STV, which is proportional representation by single transferable vote. How do we what is the criteria? How do we use the PR by STV? I'll tell you. See, in case of president, when I told you that MPs and MLAs are involved in the elections of the president, when I talk about MLAs, which means the MLA of the state and UTs are involved in the election of president. So now the elections are to be done on the basis of proportional representation. What does it mean? It means that the vote of each MLA will be decided by the population of the state. Okay, it has to be in the proportion of the population of the state. So the vote value of each MLA differs when we come to the different state. For example, if Uttar Pradesh has a higher population, the vote value of the MLA belonging to the Uttar Pradesh state will be of higher value. Okay, why? Because why we have done this? Because we have the criteria of proportional representation. We have to see whichever the state has higher number of population, the MLA's vote value will be in the proportion of the population that is mentioned. So if the question comes that the vote value of all the MLAs in the country are same, it's false. Why? Because we are using proportional representation system, which means that whatever the population is, the vote value of the MLA will be in the regard of that. If the population of the state is less, the vote value of the MLA is will be also less. Okay, so coming on to PR with STV, proportional representation with single transferable vote. So how the counting, how the election is done here? For example, I have these ballot papers. These are the ballot papers that I have here, and I have candidate A, candidate B and candidate C for the elections. Okay, here I have candidate B, candidate C and candidate. Okay, these are the ballot papers that are here. Okay, so as I told you, the elections of the president are used by the ballot papers, not the EVMs. Why not? Because of EVM, because in EVM we have equal vote for all the voters. But in case of president, we are using proportional representation, which means that the state who has higher number of population, the vote value of MLA will be in the proportion of that. Okay, in case of PR, here I'll tell you how do we do the elections of president. So, for example, we have 3 candidates for the elections of president, candidate A, candidate B and candidate C. For example, a voter has given candidate C as one preference. Okay, we'll give the preference here. Okay, if I have given C the one preference, I want C candidate to be the president of the country, I'll give him 1. Okay, it is my first preference that C should be the president of the country. Then I have given B. Sorry, I have given B second place and A the third place. Okay, according to the next voter, he has given, for example, B the first preference, C the second preference and A the third preference. And another candidate has voted A as the first preference, given for A as the first preference, B as the second preference and C as the third preference. Okay, now these are the ballot papers and different candidates got their different preferences here. Now how the counting is done, what is the criteria? Here I will put a box of candidate A, here I will put a box of candidate B and here I will put a box of candidate C. So I will see that whichever ballot paper has the first preference for A candidate, I'll put the ballot papers here and I'll be counting it accordingly. So I see that candidate A here got the first preference, so I'll put this ballot paper here. Okay, because A has gotten the first preference, so this ballot paper goes to the candidate A. So I have taken the ballot paper here and I have put it under the candidate A because candidate A got the first preference. Now when I see B, I have seen that B here got the first preference, so I will take the ballot paper and will keep it under the B. Okay. Now when it comes to C, I have seen that this ballot paper belongs to the first preference of C, so I have put it in the box of C. Now likewise, I will be doing with all the ballot papers and I will be filling the boxes of each and every candidate. Now I will be counting the ballot papers. Okay, now when I will be counting and whichever box has more than 50% of the vote, have more than 50% of the votes of the country will become the president of the country. Okay, now the votes are not same because we have proportional representation. The votes of MLA will be different. Okay, for example, the Uttar Pradesh MLA has a vote value of 2. So the candidate A for example received 5 votes from Uttar Pradesh, so it will have a vote value of 10. Okay, so it will be likewise counted. Whatever the vote value will come out, it will be similarly be counted. Okay, in case of a candidate gets a 50% more votes, will be elected as a president. In case it is not there, in case none of them got the 50% criteria, then for example, we have seen that this has got the highest vote, not 50% but the highest. This also got second highest vote, and C, which is the least preferred candidate, it got the least number of votes. So what we'll do, we'll take out the C ballot paper. We'll take out all the ballot paper that C has in the box, and we'll see that okay, in the ballot paper of C, we have seen that C has got the first preference because C has it in the box. Okay, the next we'll see the second preference of the ballot paper which are kept in the C. So for example, we have seen that the ballot paper which was this. Okay, we have seen that the ballot paper which was in the C box, for example, we have seen that apart from C that has got the first preference, because it is cancelled because the votes are very less, so we will not count the first preference. Now we will come to the second preference of it. Now when we see the second preference of the C candidate, we see that it has given the vote to B. So what I will do, I will put this ballot paper to the B box. Okay, now I will see other preferences apart from the first preferences that the C got. Now the another paper, if I see another paper in which C was 1, B was 3 and A was 2. So this ballot paper will go to the A box. Why A box? Because A got the second preference when I saw the ballot paper of C. So likewise the votes are transferred to the different candidates which have different preferences. For example, if the C is cancelled because it has the lowest number of votes. So now what we'll do, we'll see the second preference of the C candidate and the votes will be transferred likewise. So the name that proportional representation by single transferable vote, it means that the votes gets transferred in case none of them receives the majority of the vote. So first I'll do the elections of president. The president is indirectly elected. The members of the electoral college vote. The electoral college consists of the elected members of Lok Sabha, elected members of Rajya Sabha, elected members of state legislative assemblies (MLA), and elected members of Delhi, Pondicherry, and JNK. Okay, and JNK. Okay. It does not include nominated members and members of legislative councils. So, member of legislative councils are not included here, and nominated members are also not included here. Okay. So, president represents the union government and all the states, because both MPs and MLAs are participating in the elections. So, we have seen that MLAs and MPs both participate in the elections. The election takes place by proportional representation by single transferable vote. Okay, the election is conducted through secret ballot. EVMs are not used. Okay, why? Because we have different vote value for the MLAs, hence EVMs are not used. Okay. Voters rank candidate in the order of preference. So the candidate gets a preference. As I have told you, if you have first preference, you'll be the ballot paper belongs to you. The second preference and the third preference. Likewise, the candidates, the voters vote for the candidate. Likewise, they give the preference here, and they'll give the preference here. For example, A candidate got preference first, so the ballot paper belongs to the A candidate. And when the A candidate has received the lowest votes, the ballot paper of A will be transferred to the person who has received the second preference. Okay. Okay. So the MLA vote value, how do we calculate the MLA vote value? It depends on the population of the state. So the vote value of the MLA is in the proportion of the population of the state. Vote value of MLA differs from state to state. So as the population goes on, it will be proportionate to that. Okay. Vote value of an MP, all MPs have equal vote value. Why? Because they have they are all under the union and they are all under one center, hence they have equal vote value. Okay. So what is the formula of MLA? How do we see that how the vote value is calculated? We put the population of the state. Okay, it is basic common sense that first, as I am telling you, that it is taken out by the proportional representation. So first we'll see the population of the state and we'll see the number of elected MLAs. Okay, then we'll see the number of elected MLAs and we'll multiply it by 1000. Okay. In case of MP, we see the vote values of all elected MPs. Okay. We see the vote value, for example, state 1, state 2. So likewise, we consider we'll see what is the state population and what is the state vote value is here, and likewise we'll calculate for the vote value of MP. Okay. Now, a candidate who is elected as the president, the candidate must secure more than 50% of the valid vote values. So the candidate, as I have told you, that C got the lesser votes. So the ballot paper of C was transferred. So we have to make the 50% of the percentage of the valid vote value to be elected as a president. If no candidate secures the required quota, the candidate with the lowest vote value is eliminated. The candidate which has the lowest value, the vote value is eliminated, and votes are transferred according to the next preference. So whatever the next preference of the voters will be, the ballot paper will be transferred, the votes will be transferred to the next preference. Okay, this process continues until one candidate secures the required majority. So we'll continue the process until we receive the majority. We receive till we receive the 50% plus votes, we'll continue this process. Okay, the electoral college refers to the person who are entitled to vote in the presidential elections. Okay, as I have told you, the electoral college includes the elected MPs and MLAs. MPs means Lok Sabha, members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, elected members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and elected MLAs, which means all the state and 3 UTs, and 3 UTs. The election is done by secret ballot and it is based on proportional representation by single transferable vote. So the elections of president is done by proportional representation by single transferable vote. Okay, the president hold the office for 5 years from the date of entering the office. So till the date he enters the office, till the date he takes an oath, from that date onwards we count the 5-year term of the president. Okay, and he is also eligible for re-elections. The presidential elections could be a candidate standing for the elections of the president can be re-elected also. Okay, there is no age limit in case of the president. There is no age limit. The president can be re-elected for through his entire life. So termination of the office, the president's tenure may end due to completion of 5 years. So when the term of 5 years is completed of president, then it can be terminated. The presidential office, the president can be terminated. Okay, resignation to address to the vice president. In case the president wants to resign from the office, he can give the resignation to the vice president. There could be question coming from the students that why the president gives the resignation to vice president and not the CJI of India. Why? Because when we see the presidential elections and we see that president has given the resignation, the vice president fills the seat vacant for the president. So vice president becomes the acting president. That's why the president gives the resignation to the vice president and not the CJI. The removal by impeachment. So the president can be removed by the process of impeachment and death. Okay. So these are the termination. These are the criteria by which a president can be removed from his office. The vacancy in the office of president. The office falls vacant due to the death, resignation, removal, and otherwise. Okay. So in case of the death of the president, the seat is vacant, the office of the president is vacant. The resignation also makes the seat vacant of the president. Removal by impeachment, we'll see how the president is removed. And otherwise it means that, for example, a candidate who has done some forgery and for example, a candidate, the age of president is 35 years of age, but he has done some forgery and made the documents accordingly, but he is not the age of 35, he is suppose of 32, and he has somehow done some forgery and was elected as the president for 6-7 months. So the case of his office, for example, somebody filed a case that the person who is now elected as president is not of certain age to be the president. So the person can also be removed from the office. So this is the otherwise case that I am telling you. Okay. The vice president acts as the president until a new president is elected. So in case the president resigns, there is death of the president, then the vice president takes the seat of president till new elections are done. In case of America, we see in case of US, when we see in case of US, if there is a president and he has completed the year of 2, in case of US we have 4 year of termination period of the office of president. So a president has completed 2 years of the presidential office and he has resigned after 2 years, then the remaining next 2 years will be completed by the vice president and there will be no new elections that is held. But in case of India, if the president resigns, there will be new elections. Okay. So the procedure of impeachment. So there could be a question that do we have the procedure for the removal, the mode of procedure do we have in the constitution written in case of president? So the answer is yes, we do have a procedure, mode of procedure that is written in the constitution, which is under article 61. The president of India can be removed from the office only through the impeachment for violation of the constitution. Okay. The president can be only removed when there is a violation of the constitution, but what is exactly the violation of the constitution is not mentioned in the Indian constitution itself. Okay. So what is the procedure? Procedure is that there will be a notice of 14 days written notice given to the president. So there should be a 14 days written notice given to the president, so that president can get a legal representation opportunity, and president can hire a legal representative to represent himself in the court as well. Okay, in the investigations that will be charged on him. The notice must be signed by at least 1/4 of the total members of the house initiating the charge. So when the notice will be passed, it should be passed by 1/4 of the total members of the house. Okay, the initiating of the charge has to be passed by 1/4 of the member. Later, after the notice period, the impeachment resolution should be moved in the house and it should be passed by the majority of 2/3 of vote. Okay, the first house investigates and votes on the charge. The resolution must be passed by special majority of the total membership of the house, not less than 2/3 of the members of the present and voting. So after the notice is given to the president, then there has to be the voting on the charge of the president. For example, president has done something and there should be a voting of the majority of the people present and voting, which is 2/3 of the people. So whichever house has initiated the charge, it will pass a resolution having a vote of 2/3 of the majority of the people. Okay, it can be initiated in both the houses. Lok Sabha can also initiate the charges for removal of the president, and Rajya Sabha could also do that. Okay, then the resolution is passed to the second house. Okay, whichever house it was initiated. For example, it was initiated in the Rajya Sabha, then the resolution will be passed to the Lok Sabha. Okay, the second house investigates the charges. So the investigation criteria is done in the second house. Okay, the resolution is passed by the first house, but the investigation is done in the second house. So whichever the house is second, from whichever the resolution is passed, the other house investigates the charges. The president has the right to appear and defend himself personally or through a representative. Okay, so president has the full right to defend himself and appear in the court, appear in the house. This is a quasi-judicial process, not an ordinary criminal trial. Okay, so it is a quasi-judicial process. Why? Because it is not a normal court. The second house where the investigation is going on, it is not a normal court. Why? Because we are not putting the sections of IPC and CRPC. It is a very it is a different process that is going on for the investigations of president. So it is a quasi-judicial process and not a normal judicial process. Okay, not a normal criminal trial is going on. So we have given the word quasi-judicial process to the second house of the Parliament, which investigates the charges of the president. Next, the final approval. The second house also passes the resolution with the required majority. If also the second house passes the resolution by the required majority, the president stands to be impeached. The president is removed. from the office on the date of passing the resolution. So when the second house also investigates the charges and the charges are well proven against the president stands impeached and is removed from the office from the date of passing of the resolution. Okay, nature of the impeachment, it is quasi judicial process. What is quasi judicial process? It means that it is not a regular court. The legislature acts as a court, but it is not a normal court. It does not follow the sections of IPC and CRPC. Okay, it only investigates the matter. Okay, the president gets an opportunity to defend himself and herself. Removal is possible only through the impeachment. So president can only be removed through the impeachment process. Conditions of the president's office. The president shall not be a member of either house of the parliament. As I have told you, he is not a member of either house of the parliament or any state legislature, but he is an integral part of the parliament. He is not a member, but he is a part. If an MP or MLA is elected to president, the seat is deemed vacant from the date he or she enters the office. So whenever the PM or MLA gets elected as the president, they have to vacate their seats in legislature, for example Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha or any state legislature. They shall not hold any office of profit. They shall not hold any office of the government from where they are getting remuneration. It is entitled to official residence. They get the official residence, salary and allowances will be there, and other privileges are determined by the parliament. Whatever the privileges which are determined by the parliament will receive them. Okay, the president is entitled to official residence, which is Rashtrapati Bhavan, salary, allowances and privileges deemed by the parliament. We have seen the vacancy. Okay, why do we have the vacancy of the president? In case of the completion of 5-year term, death, resignation, removal by impeachment and election declared void by the Supreme Court. So when I say that there is a case of forgery and a person who was of the age of 32 and not completed the age of 35 and did some forgery in the documents and became the president and elected as a president, and later on after 7-8 months somebody filed a petition against him that there was a case of forgery and the elected president shall not continue the office, then the Supreme Court can declare the election of that president as void. Okay, but all the acts done by him, all the files that he has signed throughout the tenure that he has served, for example, he was a president for 7-8 months. So whatever the files he has signed, it will not be considered void. It will not be considered null and void. Why? Because president is the nominal head of the country. There is no real executive power in the hands of the president, and whatever the president has signed, the files and the documents, it would be on the advice of the Council of Ministers. So there would be no discretion in case of the president. So the acts done by him will not be considered as null and void. If the election of the president is declared void by the Supreme Court, all the acts done by the president before the declaration remain valid. So all the acts done by him will be valid. Why? Because it is a nominal head and he works on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, which has the real power. The president election dispute, all the dispute related to the election of president and election of president are declared only by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court only decides about all the disputes that are related to the elections of the president. The Supreme Court's decision is final. Okay, so that's it. Then we have not discussed the powers and the functions of the president, and I'll be discussing about the powers and the functions of the president in the next video. So thank you for the video.